Before Rachel Zegler's Snow White fails and is released in cinemas, she was fired and changed careers. Welcome back to Views with JRE News. This is Jerome Hughes. As you are all aware, Rachel Zegler's career isn't going well because of what she is doing right now. As many of you are aware, Rachel Zegler is facing backlash over her role as Snow White, or Richard Zegler's Snow White, and the way that Richard Zegler has handled the criticism that has been directed at her. However, more significantly, Richard Zegler has been making decisions that could potentially define the next phase of her own career, and her move to New York City may be the most calculated move he has ever made, especially in light of the current Hollywood controversy surrounding Richard Zegler's name. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel. At the conclusion of this video, click bell notification, make sure all notifications are turned on, and view the next video. Although Rachel Zegler hasn't exactly been shy about her feelings toward Hollywood, it's evident from her recent decision to move to New York, which is close to her home in New Jersey, that she feels cut off from the Hollywood scene. This suggests that Richard Zegler may be ready to leave the film industry, at least temporarily. You can see Rich Zegler and her rolling the Rich Zegler snow. Traditional fans of the character are outraged by White, and Richard Zegler has not backtracked from the criticism. Instead, she has intensified her portrayal of Richard Zegler's Snow White, which she claims is more contemporary, independent, and diverse. As you can see, Richard Zegler has been unrepentant about the creative direction she has taken, and her detractors have been equally outspoken about their enjoyment. Some people have even gone so far as to criticize Richard Zegler further, but she is the savvy actress that she is or so. She seems to have realized that the Hollywood position might not be in her best interest at this time. For this reason, Rachel Zegler's relocation to New York may indicate that she is preparing a significant career change. It's also important to remember that Rachel Zegler has a background in musical theater and has always shown a strong affection for the stage you see. Excuse me, but Rich Zegler's Broadway aspirations would enable her to reinvent herself in a new arena where Richard Zegler has more imaginative. This also raises the question of whether Rachel Zegler is leaving Hollywood because she feels that her career is in jeopardy. However, with all the controversy surrounding her upcoming roles, including the previous Hunger Games prequel and the upcoming Rich Zegler Snow White, it's not difficult to find control and less scrutiny from the film industry. I hope that Richard Zegler will at least change her attitude and everything and not become so entitled. See the reasons why Rich Zegler could choose to move back from the limelight. Although Rich Zegler has attempted to maintain her confidence in her decisions, it is evident that the pressure is growing. Richard Z's move to New York may be his attempt to escape the pressure while remaining relevant in the entertainment industry. Hollywood has not been kind to people like Rachel Zegler, particularly if they have been vocal about it a lot in recent months. After all, controversy is nothing new to Rich Zegler, as you are aware from her candid remarks on Hollywood's lack of diversity and her unreserved position on updating beloved characters like Snow White. Some see Richard Zegler as a trailblazer who isn't scared to question the status quo. Thus, he's been a bit of a lightning rod for public opinion. Others see Richard Zegler as a representation of all the worst aspects of Hollywood's current fixation with woke ideology and political correctness, as well as his treatment of Rich Z's ability to maintain a long-term career in the entertainment industry will ultimately depend on these controversies, but for the time being, it appears that she is concentrating on taking calculated risks to safeguard her future. What's also fascinating about Rich Z's career decisions is the timing you see. Rich Z is taking these actions at a time when Hollywood is going through a significant transition. The emergence of streaming services, the drop in conventional box office earnings, and the growing criticism against woke content are all elements that are changing the entertainment landscape. Whether Rich Zegler is aware of it or not, she is caught in the midst of this cultural shift, and her relocation to New York may be interpreted as an effort to disassociate herself from these changes in the industry, particularly given the growing backlash against woke storytelling. While we have always discussed this, let's not forget that Rich Zegler's involvement. Snow White, the wealthy Zegler, is seen in the film. The casting of Rachel Zegler as Snow White, a character typically portrayed as fair-skinned and European, has been one of the most controversial casting choices in recent years. This decision sparked immediate criticism from those who believed that Disney was trying to advance a political agenda. Rachel Zegler has defended the casting decision, arguing that her portrayal of Snow White or the Richard Zegler Snow White would focus more on in. This is where Richard Zegler's move to Broadway could be extremely important. You see, Richard Zegler's theater background gives her a unique opportunity to change the narrative surrounding her career on stage, which allows Zegler to showcase her talents in a way that doesn't rely on physical appearance. However, his critics have not been satisfied with that explanation, and many have accused Rachel Zegler and Disney of prioritizing diversity or woke ideology over storytelling, which is forced diversity. Expose you to the same degree of scrutiny that comes with being a movie star. Richard Zegler's decision to return to her roots may also be a means for her to avoid the controversies that have defined her film career thus far, but even as Rachel Zegler prepares for her next chapter, the question still remains. Rachel Zegler can choose the projects that allow her to demonstrate her value as a performer without the burden of Hollywood politics, while Rachel Zegler cannot control the types of roles that she takes on. Will Rachel Zegler's criticism follow her to Broadway? This question hangs in the air as the young actress prepares to transition to the stage. Rachel Zegler has become a polarizing figure in the entertainment industry, largely due to her controversial comments about her portrayal of Snow White and her unapologetic stance on modernizing beloved, classic characters. Her approach to this iconic role, where she has openly advocated for a fresh, progressive take on the traditionally passive Disney princess, has sparked a significant backlash from fans and critics alike. The question remains, will this backlash affect her reception on Broadway, or will her talent shine through despite the controversy? Rachel Zegler's outspoken views on updating classic characters like Snow White have struck a nerve with those who are passionate about preserving the original charm and innocence of such roles. Many feel that her criticism of the character is outdated and in need of reinvention disrespects the legacy of the stories that have been cherished by generations. Her insistence on reshaping these characters to reflect more modern values has been praised by some as bold and forward-thinking, yet others see it as a disregard for the timeless qualities that made these characters iconic in the first place. This divided opinion has turned Zegler into a lightning rod for debate in the entertainment community. Despite the backlash, it's important to recognize that Rachel Zegler is still in the early stages of her career. At just 23 years old, she has already achieved remarkable success, starring in blockbuster films like West Side Story, and landing roles in high-profile projects that most actors only dream of. With this meteoric rise comes the pressure of living under constant scrutiny, as every word she speaks and every choice she makes becomes a topic of public discussion. This level of visibility is both a blessing and a curse for a young artist still navigating the industry's complexities. Broadway, however, is a different arena altogether. The theater community has its own set of standards and expectations, often valuing raw talent, dedication, and the ability to transform on stage over celebrity status. For Rachel Zegler, stepping onto the Broadway stage with her new role will be an opportunity to prove herself in a space that demands authenticity and resilience. If she believes that the move will distance her from the criticisms that have followed her in Hollywood, she may be in for a reality check. The Broadway audience is known for its discerning nature and can be equally vocal in their praise and disapproval. If anything, her transition might amplify the scrutiny she faces, as theater critics and audiences alike are less forgiving of performances that don't meet their high standards. However, it's not all doom and gloom. If there's one thing that could work in Zegler's favor, it is her undeniable talent and passion for her craft. Broadway is a place where skill can often silence even the harshest critics, and a stellar performance might just be what she needs to shift the narrative in her favor. Her vocal abilities and stage presence, which have been well documented in her film roles, could very well win over audiences who have been skeptical of her more outspoken views. In the end, it might come down to whether she can let her performance speak louder than her words. Public opinion is a turbulent force, constantly shifting with the tides of social media trends and cultural conversations. For Zegler, the challenge will be to navigate this stormy sea without letting it capsize her burgeoning career. She has already shown resilience in the face of criticism, remaining unapologetic about her views and committed to her vision of modernizing classic roles. This resilience might serve her well on Broadway, where a thick skin and unwavering confidence are crucial assets. Yet, she must also consider how she presents herself to this new audience, which may not be as receptive to her past controversies. In the end, Rachel Zegler's journey to Broadway is not just about escaping the shadow of criticism, but about evolving as an artist in a way that allows her to rise above it. Her youth and relative inexperience might be hurdles, but they also mean she has time to learn, grow, and refine her approach. If she can channel her passion into her performances and win over the hearts of Broadway's discerning audience, she may well emerge stronger and more grounded as a performer. The stakes are undoubtedly high, but for someone as ambitious and talented as Zegler, the potential for a triumphant reinvention on Broadway is within reach. Rachel Zegler has proven that she's not afraid to take risks, which is an essential trait in an industry as unforgiving and fast-paced as Hollywood. Taking a leap of faith or stepping into unfamiliar territory is often what separates the actors who fade into the background from those who truly make their mark. But what if this conversation is actually about Richard Zegler and his recent decision to move to New York? Could this move be one of the most significant gambles he's taken in his career thus far? If so, it might just be the game-changing moment he needs to regain control over his artistic journey. Richard Zegler's decision to relocate to New York suggests a strategic maneuver, perhaps a desire to break away from the intense scrutiny and relentless competition of Hollywood. It's well known that the entertainment industry can be incredibly cutthroat, where staying relevant often requires actors to constantly reinvent themselves or even take steps back to reassess their goals. By stepping out of Hollywood, even if just temporarily, Zegler may have recognized that sometimes the best way to move forward is to take a step away from the noise. This choice to leave the heart of the film industry might seem risky, but it could also signify a turning point, allowing him to rebuild and reframe his career with a fresh perspective.